cases, you guys. You've got biological men who identify as females, and they're challenging their state's laws that ban them from competing in women's sports. Idaho and West Virginia are among 30 states nationwide with laws that stop biological men from taking part in girls' sports at public schools and colleges. So the justices will take a look at whether or not gender identity trumps Title IX. Of course, that is the landmark federal law that forbids sexual discrimination at schools. Now, West Virginia Attorney General J.B. McCuskey writes that West Virginia is ready for this argument, and we expect it to be a 9-0 decision. Our argument here is that, very simply, biological males are bigger, faster, and stronger than girls, and therefore it creates an unfair and unsafe playing space for girls. Now, something else to keep.
The highest court in the land is finally lacing up to decide the future of fairness. Make no mistake, biological reality itself is on trial here. We aren't just talking about a game or a trophy. We're talking about the fundamental rights of our daughters, and frankly, the stakes have never been higher. Is the truth still the truth in a court of law? We're about to find out. Back in 2021, West Virginia decided they'd seen enough and took a stand that sent shockwaves across the entire country. By passing the Save Women's Sports Act, they weren't trying to be controversial. They were trying to anchor female athletics in the harbor of biological truth. This wasn't some minor local policy or a bit of red tape. It was a full-scale defense of the very foundation of Title IX. Think about it. For decades, this landmark legislation was the gold standard, ensuring women had a dedicated space to compete without being crushed by the physical dominance of biological males. But that common sense tradition, it's under siege. Radical activists are working overtime to dismantle the very definition of womanhood. So far, 29 states have seen the writing on the wall and joined the movement, drawing a definitive line in the sand. Their argument is simple. If you ignore the physical differences between the sexes, you aren't being inclusive. You're failing an entire generation of young women. You're robbing them of their scholarships, their safety, and the victories they've bled for. This isn't a quiet concern anymore. It's a national demand for objective reality in our schools and our stadiums. The piece of the playing field didn't last long. It was shattered by a high-profile legal challenge that everyone saw coming. An individual known as B.P.J. pushed to enter the female cross-country arena, igniting a firestorm that climbed all the way to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. Look at this case for what it is, a permanent shift in how we view the rights of female athletes. The people defending the law are pointing to the obvious, the physiological advantages inherent in biological males. We're talking about advantages that no amount of conditioning or training can ever truly bridge. They're arguing that allowing this isn't progress. It's a tragedy for every girl who has spent her childhood training for a fair shot at the podium. This legal slog has been long, exhausting, and buried under lower court injunctions that most parents see as nothing more than the stripping away of their daughters' rights. Now, the Supreme Court has finally agreed to step in. The focus has shifted to the only question that matters. Does the Constitution actually protect the integrity of sex-segregated sports? This outcome will decide if the word woman still carries its biological meaning or if it's just another word the law is ready to erase. Attorney General Patrick Morrisey isn't beating around the bush. He recently took to the national airwaves, and he wasn't just hopeful. He was projecting a sense of absolute ironclad confidence. Speaking with the full weight of his office, he actually predicted a unanimous 9-0 victory for the state. To Morrisey, this isn't a complex legal riddle. It's a simple matter of common sense and biological fact. He's putting the data front and center. Biological males have higher bone density, greater lung capacity, and superior muscle mass. Those aren't opinions. They're the ingredients of an unfair environment for female competitors. This isn't about prejudice or hate. It's about protecting a sacred space that was built specifically for women. He's betting that even the most liberal justices on the bench will have to recognize the massive failure of policies that let biological males displace female athletes. The Attorney General's stance has become a rallying cry for everyone who believes the truth isn't up for negotiation. With the January 13th oral arguments looming, the whole country is watching to see if the court will uphold the Save Women's Sports Act and finally restore some order to the arena. We've reached a pivotal moment in our history, and there's no turning back. Whatever decision the Supreme Court hands down in 2026 is going to echo through every single gymnasium and locker room in America. It's a fork in the road. We either choose biological reality or we surrender to a radical ideology that wants to blur the distinctions between the sexes until they vanish. If the court rules for West Virginia, it's a massive landmark victory for the safety and fairness of our daughters. It ensures that women's sports stay, well, for women. But if the court falters, it would trigger a collapse of the system that could end female athletics as we know it. We are in a battle for the very sanctity of competition. We have to stay sharp, and we have to stand with the people who actually have the courage to speak the truth out loud. This is so much bigger than a legal file. It's a fight for the future of the American family and the traditions we hold dear. The final verdict is coming fast, and you can bet we'll be right here to report the truth, no matter the cost.